The void of space stretched endlessly, a vast canvas painted with distant stars and silent mysteries. At the edge of the Gornoth sector, a massive alien fleet glided like a dark shadow beneath the sparkling cosmos. Hundreds of sleek warships moved in disciplined formation, their hulls gleaming under the distant suns. They were the Cathar race, known for their relentless expansion and overwhelming military might. Their confidence was absolute. Admiral Velik stood on the bridge of the flagship Verkash, eyes scanning the display. The fleet had been patrolling these border regions for months, ensuring no rival force could challenge the Cathar's growing influence. Intelligence reports indicated signs of human activity nearby. A single warship had been detected moving near the outer rim of their territory. Another scout, Velik muttered, voice low but firm. No threat. Maintain formation. Let them come and observe. We will show them our power if needed. The Cathar had no interest in wasting resources on a lone human ship. Their strength lay in numbers and overwhelming force. A single vessel was a minor annoyance, barely worth a response. On the bridge of the human warship Resolute, Captain Mare Jensen surveyed the starfield through reinforced viewport glass. The ship was smaller than the imposing Cathar vessels, but agile and equipped with the latest in human technology. The crew worked with quiet efficiency, each member focused on their role. This sector matches the last report, Jensen said softly, fingers tapping the console. Cathar fleet is here well within range. Our mission is simple. Observe, avoid detection if possible, and report. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. The Resolute was built for versatility, a balance of stealth and firepower. It carried weapons capable of precise strikes and defenses that blended cutting-edge shielding with electronic countermeasures. Above all, it relied on the crew's training and adaptability, as the Resolute slipped through the shadows near a dense asteroid belt. Sensors picked up the movement of the Cathar fleet beyond. The warship's crew remained calm, their nerves steady despite the looming danger. Back on the Verkash, the alien fleet continued its patrol. The Cathar commanders gathered data from long-range scans, confirming the human ship's presence. Discussions buzzed over secure channels. Target identified, a Cathar officer reported. Single human vessel. No sign of fleet support. Engage. Reconnaissance protocols, Velik ordered. Send probes to shadow the ship. We will assess their intentions. But the humans had anticipated this. The Resolute deployed a series of countermeasures, false signals, stealth fields, and decoys that disrupted the probes. The Cathar's sensors struggled to maintain a consistent lock. Tensions mounted in the alien command. Velik frowned. This is no ordinary scout. They hide their true strength. Across the void, Captain Jensen felt the weight of the moment. She knew the risks. One wrong move, and her ship could be overwhelmed by the Cathar's superior numbers. Yet humans had faced impossible odds before. Their history was one of resilience, innovation, and an unyielding will to survive. The crew of the Resolute prepared for any eventuality. Suddenly, without warning, the silence was broken. The Resolute activated a sudden burst of energy, a precise strike aimed at the Cathar's rearguard vessels. The blast was swift, disabling two cruisers before alarms blared across the alien fleet. Chaos erupted. The Cathar scrambled to respond, their formations breaking as confusion spread. Velik's voice thundered through the command channels. Identify the attacker. Return fire. This is an ambush. But the humans did not wait. Using their ship's advanced stealth and maneuverability, the Resolute slipped through gaps in the alien lines. Striking again and again, each hit calculated and devastating. The Cathar had never faced such tactics. Their overwhelming numbers meant little against precision, speed, and unpredictability. In the cold silence of space, the shadow on the horizon had revealed itself not as a weak scout, but as a force that would change the galaxy forever. The sudden, precise attacks from the Resolute sent ripples of alarm through the Cathar fleet. The alien commanders were unprepared. Their long-held belief that a single human ship posed no threat was shattered in moments. Admiral Palak's claws clenched around the command console. Alert all vessels. Engage full defense protocols. Target the human warship. The fleets. Massive ships adjusted course, converging on the Resolute. Their weapon systems activated, sending streams of energy beams and guided missiles through the void. But the human warship was already gone. Using a combination of stealth fields and rapid bursts of speed, the Resolute slipped through the alien lines like a ghost. Its crew executed maneuvers honed through years of training and simulations. They anticipated the Cathora's responses before they even began. Evasive pattern Delta 7. Captain Jensen ordered. Deploy chaff and electronic countermeasures. Prepare to strike vulnerable targets. The ship's weapons bays opened briefly, unleashing a volley of micromissiles armed with high-yield plasma charges. The missiles struck with surgical accuracy, targeting the engines and weapon arrays of several Cathar. Frigates' explosions lit up the dark canvas of space as the alien ships faltered. Systems failed, hulls ruptured. Confusion spread across the Cathar fleet like wildfire. Their communications were filled with frantic reports and calls for assistance. Unknown vessel is disrupting our formation and crippling ships, a Cathar commander reported. Their technology, it defies all known parameters. Valak's face darkened. How can one ship cause such devastation? On board the Resolute, the crew remained composed. Each strike was deliberate, every move calculated to maximize damage. While minimizing exposure, Lieutenant Ree, the tactical officer, analyzed the alien fleet's patterns. Their formations are rigid, predictable even. We exploit that. Captain Jensen nodded. Good. Keep pushing. Disable their fleet command vessels if possible. Without command, they fall apart. The Resolute's small size and agility gave it an edge. It darted through the gaps between colossal alien warships, striking from unexpected angles. Its targeting systems exploited weaknesses in the Cathar shields and armor. Suddenly, the flagship Verkash was hit. The plasma blast tore through its outer hull, and alarms blared across the alien command deck. Velek snarled in frustration. Protect the flagship at all costs. Deploy fighters and interceptors. Squadrons of swift fighters launched from the Cathar vessels, swarming the Resolute. The human ship's defenses held firm, but the pressure was mounting. Missile lock detected, shouted the weapons officer, launching countermeasures. The Resolute released flares and electronic jammers, confusing the incoming missiles. In the chaos, it turned sharply, sending a pulse that temporarily disabled several enemy fighters' guidance systems. Despite their numbers, the alien pilots struggled against the human ship's unpredictability. Their attempts to trap the Resolute became disorganized. Back in the Verkash command center, Valak's expression was grim. This is no mere scout. We face an adversary with tactics and technology beyond our experience. The Resolute continued its assault, pushing deeper into the fleet. The human crew worked seamlessly, their discipline and unity shining through. In a quiet moment, Captain Jensen addressed her crew over the ship's comms. Remember, we represent more than just ourselves. Our success today sends a message. Humanity is not to be underestimated. As the Resolute struck again, crippling another cruiser, the alien fleet's morale began to crack. Their overwhelming numbers could not compensate for the shock of this unexpected and devastating assault. Velek growled, "Prepare for full-scale battle. We will not allow one ship to dictate our fate." But the humans had already rewritten the rules of engagement. The silent strike had shattered the illusion of alien invincibility. The Resolute was no ordinary warship, was a herald of change, and the galaxy would never be the same. The aftermath of the Resolute's first assault rippled through the Cathar fleet like a storm breaking on a calm sea. Within the vast corridors of the flagship Verkash, Admiral Velik pounded his fist against the console, frustration thick. In the air, how can one ship evade us so easily? How do they predict our every move? He demanded, voice sharp with disbelief. His tactical officer, a veteran named Shulker, spoke cautiously. They do not fight like others we have faced, Admiral. Their strategies are fluid adaptive. They use our strengths against us. Across the void, the Resolute hummed with quiet efficiency. Captain Mara Jensen stood before the command console, watching the tactical display with sharp eyes. Around her, the crew operated with practiced precision, each member a vital cog in the ship's intricate machinery. Lieutenant Ree, the tactical officer, tapped a series of commands. The Cathar formations rely heavily on overwhelming force and rigid structure. Their ships follow predictable paths to maximize their firepower. Jensen nodded. And that's where we gain the advantage. We don't fight them on their terms. We exploit their rigidity with unpredictability. Flashbacks flickered across Jensen's mind, memories of Earth's turbulent history. Humanity had survived centuries of conflicts, often outnumbered, frequently outgunned. But it was their ability to innovate, to think beyond convention, that had forged their path. Adaptability is our edge, Jensen said, voice steady. We think on our feet, we learn, and we adjust faster than any opponent. Down the hall, Engineer Sora Patel monitored the ship's systems. Our stealth modules are holding, but the Cathar are recalibrating sensors. We'll need to keep moving, to stay ahead. In the bridge's strategic room, Captain Jensen convened a brief meeting. Our priority is to disable their command ships. Without leadership, the fleet's cohesion will crumble. Lieutenant Ree, plot a course for a strike on their flagship. Ree's fingers flew across the controls, calculating optimal attack. Vectors. We'll use the asteroid belt for cover, minimizes exposure and maximizes surprise. The crew prepared for the next strike, their resolve unshaken despite the mounting danger. They knew the stakes. This was not just a battle for survival, but a clash of civilizations. Back on the Verkash, Admiral Velik gathered his commanders. We must evolve our tactics, he declared. No more direct assaults. We need unpredictability to match our enemies. The commanders exchanged grim looks. Their traditions valued discipline and overwhelming force, but the humans had exposed their weaknesses. The humans fight like no others, Shulker admitted. We face not just technology, but a different mindset. As the Resolute slipped through the asteroid belt, the crew prepared their weapons. Jensen's voice cut through the quiet. Focus on precision and speed. We strike hard, then vanish before they regroup. The ship surged forward, plasma cannons charging. In moments, the Resolute unleashed a coordinated attack on the Verkash S. Shields, the flagship shuddered under the assault, systems faltering. Chaos erupted within the alien command. Without warning, fighter squadrons scrambled. But the Resolute had already vanished among the asteroids, leaving confusion in its wake. Admiral Velik's anger was matched by a grudging respect. This is no ordinary foe. We must learn from them, or be destroyed. As the battle raged, word of the Resolute's tactics spread among the Cathar fleets. Their rigid formations began to loosen, and commanders experimented with new strategies, but the humans were always one step ahead. The Resolute's crew shared a quiet pride. They were not just fighting a warship, they represented humanity's spirit, resilience, creativity, and the courage to face the unknown. With every maneuver, every strike, the Resolute proved that the human edge was not just technology, but the will to adapt and survive. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready. The Verkash limped through the debris of shattered vessels and flickering starfields. Its once imposing hull, scarred by the relentless strikes of the Resolute. Admiral Valak's fury was matched only by his desperation. The alien fleet was no longer a monolith of control. It was fractured and vulnerable. "We cannot afford to lose more ships," Valak barked. "Prepare for counterattack. Deploy every fighter and heavy gunship. We will crush that human pest before it can strike again." The vast alien fleet shifted. Squadrons of nimble fighters poured from their carriers, swarming through the void like a living storm. Energy beams traced deadly Orcs as the Cathar launched a coordinated assault designed to overwhelm the lone human warship. On the Resolute, alarms blared, red lights casting shadows on the tense faces of the crew. "Incoming fighters, multiple vectors," reported Lieutenant Ree. "They're trying to box us in." Captain Jensen gripped the console. "Hold steady. Activate Defense Matrix Gamma. Prepare to engage stealth thrusters. We'll use their overconfidence against them." The Resolute shimmered briefly as stealth systems enveloped the ship, rendering it nearly invisible to sensors and visual detection. With practiced precision, the warship darted toward the heart of the assault, weaving through missile fire and laser bursts as Cathar fighters closed in. Expecting an easy kill, the Resolute suddenly struck. Using an unexpected maneuver, it fired a pulse of electromagnetic energy that disrupted the enemy ships. Targeting systems, chaos rippled through the alien squadrons as fighters lost control and collided with one another. The human warship slipped through the disarray, delivering a devastating salvo that disabled several capital ships. "Excellent work," Jensen said calmly. "Prepare to hit their command vessels next." Meanwhile, aboard the Verkash Valak's officers scrambled to adapt. "Their tactics are unorthodox," one admitted. "They anticipate our moves, exploiting weaknesses we never considered." Valak paced the command deck, mind racing. He ordered the deployment of a new weapon experimental energy, net designed to trap and disable enemy ships without destroying them. If the Resolute could be captured, the Cathar could learn its secrets. As the energy net launched, the Resolute sensors detected the incoming threat. "Deploy countermeasures," Jensen ordered. The ship released a cloud of nanodrones that interfered with the net's energy field, causing it to collapse prematurely. "Damn," muttered Valak. "They are always one step ahead." In the midst of battle, human ingenuity shone brightest. Engineer Sora Patel worked feverishly to adapt the ship's systems on the fly. "Captain, I've reconfigured the propulsion matrix. We can push the engines beyond rated limits for a short burst." Jensen nodded. "Do it. We need to outpace their reinforcements." With a sudden surge, the Resolute accelerated, slipping behind enemy lines to strike at vulnerable supply vessels. Their destruction cut off the alien fleet's ability to sustain the fight. The Cathar commanders watched helplessly as their forces began to fracture. Internal communications broke down, orders went unheeded, and panic seeped into the ranks. "Retreat is not an option," Valak growled. "We must adapt or be destroyed." The battle raged on, but the tide had turned. The lone human warship, supported by ingenuity and unyielding determination, had shattered the illusion of Cathar invincibility. The Resolute strikes echoed across the void, a warning that the galaxy's balance was shifting. The alien fleet was learning, but the humans were evolving faster. In the quiet moments between assaults, Captain Jensen allowed herself a brief breath. She knew the fight was far from over, but humanity had made its statement. They would no longer be dismissed as weak. They would no longer be unseen. The human edge was real, and it was just beginning to show. The battle raged on, the once proud Cathar fleet now splintered and vulnerable. The Resolute maneuvered through the chaos, relentless and precise. Yet Captain Jensen knew their strength alone would not be enough to break the alien forces entirely. The tide of war demanded allies across the galaxy. Word of the human warship's audacious strikes spread like wildfire. Some species, long wary of the Cathar's dominance, saw in humanity a beacon of hope. Quiet transmissions and encrypted messages reached the resolute offers of aid. New technologies and shared intelligence. Jensen convened her officers in the command room. We're not alone in this fight anymore. Allies from several systems have responded. Their fleets are en route. Lieutenant Rhee's eyes sparkled with cautious optimism. We'll have reinforcements soon, Captain. Their unique technologies and knowledge could tip the scales. Within days, the first Allied ships arrived. Sleek vessels from the V-Tracks. Renowned for their electronic warfare expertise, glided alongside the Resolute. The Millery masters of rapid repair and shield technology followed closely behind. The human-led coalition was growing. The new allies brought fresh tactics and technologies that complemented human adaptability. The V-Tracks deployed sophisticated jamming fields that disrupted Cathar communications, further fracturing their command structure. Millery engineers boarded damaged human ships, quickly restoring their combat effectiveness. For the Cathar, the arrival of these reinforcements was a blow to morale. Their once-unquestioned dominance was being challenged by a united front they had not anticipated. Admiral Velik's voice was grim in his command center. Their strength grows. We must prepare for full-scale engagement. No mercy, apathy. Coalition was not just a military force, it was a symbol of unity. Captain Jensen understood that the fight was not just about weapons or tactics, it was about resilience and hope. During a joint briefing, V-Tracks Commander Zero addressed the coalition. The Cathar underestimate the power of diversity. Together, our strengths form a shield no enemy can break. The Resolute's crew felt renewed determination. Each Allied ship brought unique abilities, but all shared a common goal: to defend freedom against tyranny. With reinforcements, the coalition devised a new strategy. Instead of isolated strikes, they planned coordinated assaults on critical Cathar positions. Using combined fleets, electronic warfare, and precise strikes, they aimed to dismantle the enemy's infrastructure. The next engagement was fierce. Cathar warships faced a barrage of coordinated attacks, unable to regroup or respond effectively. The Alliance's jamming disrupted their sensors, leaving them blind to incoming missiles and fighter swarms. Captain Jensen piloted the Resolute. At the forefront, her ship weaving through enemy fire with practiced ease. The coalition's fighters pressed the advantage, disabling key Cathar vessels and cutting off supply lines. On the Verkash Valik's frustration deepened. Their unity gives them strength we cannot match. We must adapt or fall. But even the Cathar began to see cracks in their empire. Factions within the fleet debated the wisdom of continued war. Some favored negotiation. Others insisted on relentless battle. In the silence between conflicts, diplomatic channels opened. The coalition extended messages emphasizing respect, coexistence, and the possibility of peace. Captain Jensen reflected on humanity's own history, how former foes had become allies, and how understanding had often emerged from conflict. The Resolute's mission was evolving. Victory was no longer about destruction alone, but about shaping a future where many voices could coexist. As the coalition prepared for their next move, the galaxy watched with bated breath. The small human warship had become a beacon of force that shattered assumptions and inspired unity. The Cathar would have to face not only the strength of human resolve, but the power of a growing alliance. The war was far from over. But the first cracks in the alien empire had already begun too. Widened at the coalition fleet moved as one, a harmonious blend of human ingenuity and alien expertise. The Resolute now sailed not as a solitary shadow, but as the spearhead of a united force. Captain Mara Jensen stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the holomap displaying the Cathar fleet's positions. Every flicker of light marked an enemy. Ship a target waiting to be dismantled. Commander Ree, update on Cathar fleet status, Jensen ordered. Ree's fingers danced across the console. Their command structure is fractured. Communications remain sporadic, and their response times are slower. Morale appears low based on intercepted transmissions. Jensen allowed herself a brief nod. We have momentum. Let's make sure we keep it. The Resolute and its allies advanced into contested space where the Cathar had entrenched supply bases. These stations were vital lifelines for the alien fleet, providing fuel, repairs, and ammunition. Without them, the Cathar would face severe limitations. As the Coalition fleet approached, Vtrax electronic warfare ships began their work, unleashing waves of jamming signals. The Cathar sensors flickered and died, leaving their vessels blind and vulnerable. Suddenly, a volley of coordinated strikes erupted. Missiles streaked through space, plasma cannons flared, and fighter squadrons swarmed the enemy. The assault was precise, each attack aimed at crippling key systems and infrastructure. On board the Vercache, Admiral Velik growled in frustration. They hit us where it hurts. We must respond. Despite his orders, the Cathar ships were scattered, struggling to mount a cohesive defense. Many suffered critical damage and drifted away from the fight. Captain Jensen's voice cut through. The chaos, calm but resolute. Maintain formation. Focus on key targets. Protect our support vessels. The Resolute led the charge, weaving through debris and enemy fire, striking with pinpoint accuracy. Its smaller size and advanced systems allowed it to exploit gaps too small for larger ships. Behind her, Allied vessels provided cover, their shields overlapping to create a moving fortress. The battle raged for hours, but the tide was unmistakable. The Cathar fleet was faltering. Supply lines were severed, command ships disabled, and fighter numbers dwindling. In the aftermath, the Coalition regrouped near a damaged Cathar station. Captain Jensen opened a secure channel to Admiral Velik. This conflict need not continue, she said. Your people have strength and honor. But the galaxy is changing. Join us, and we can build a future together. Velik's voice was heavy with defeat, but not yet broken. Your strength is undeniable, human. But trust is earned. Not given. Jensen nodded. Then let this battle be the first step toward understanding. Across the Coalition fleet, hope blossomed. The war had tested their resolve, but it had also forged bonds stronger than any weapon. The Resolute's crew gathered in the mess hall. Exhausted but proud, Sora Patel raised a glass. 2 new alliances and brighter futures. The room echoed with quiet cheers. Outside, the stars shone brighter. A new chapter was beginning. The galaxy was changing, and the ripples of that change reached far beyond the immediate battlefield. Though the scars of war still marked the vast stretches of space, a cautious hope began to grow. For the first time in centuries, ancient rivalries and suspicions yielded to the possibility of cooperation. On board the Resolute, Captain Mara Jensen prepared for a mission unlike any before. The warship that had shattered the Cathar fleet now carried emissaries, not soldiers, tasked with forging a fragile peace. Lieutenant Ree, ever vigilant, reviewed intelligence reports. Several Cathar factions have signaled willingness to negotiate, but others remain hostile. We'll need to tread carefully. Jensen nodded. We must show strength, but also patience. Our goal is coexistence, not conquest. The Resolute approached the rendezvous point, a neutral space station in the unclaimed Orin Nebula. Surrounded by swirling cosmic clouds that obscured sensors and made long-range scans difficult. Representatives from various species gathered, the tension thick but tempered by curiosity. Admiral Velik was among the attendees, his presence a testament to the gravity of the moment. He studied the humans with measured respect, though the scars of conflict still lingered in his eyes. The talks began with cautious words. Diplomatic protocols were observed, yet beneath the formalities lay the weight of generations of mistrust. "Captain," Jensen addressed the assembly, "we come not as conquerors, but as partners. Humanity's arrival has shaken the galaxy's assumptions. Yes, but it has also opened a door. Together, we can build a future where strength is measured by unity, not domination." The room was silent for a long moment before a Mylari delegate spoke, their voice melodic but firm. "The Cathar have long ruled through fear, but we have seen the cost. Perhaps it is time for a new path." Admiral Velik shifted. "Change is difficult for my people, yet I see the truth in your words, Captain Jensen. The war has weakened. U.S., perhaps peace offers a chance to rebuild stronger than before." The negotiations stretched for days, complicated and delicate. Beneath the surface, covert factions plotted to disrupt progress. But the coalition's unity, forged in battle, held firm. Captain Jensen knew the road ahead was long and uncertain. Trust was fragile and could be shattered with a single misstep. Yet she believed in the power of dialogue and shared goals. Back on the Resolute, as the talks continued, the crew carried on with their duties. Engineer Sora Patel marveled at how the ship that had once been a weapon of war was now a vessel of hope. Who would have thought? She mused to Lieutenant Ree. The same ship that shattered an empire is now helping to build a new one. Ree smiled. It's more than the ship. It's the people aboard heard the courage to face the unknown and the will to change it. Meanwhile, messages of peace began to filter through once hostile territories. Isolated Cathar ships ceased fire and opened communications. Other species, inspired by humanity's example, began forming alliances of their own. The galaxy, once fractured and wary, moved toward a fragile balance. Captain Jensen stood at the observation deck, staring out at the nebula's glowing clouds. She knew the battle for peace was just beginning. But humanity's role was clear. They had shown the galaxy their power. But now they must show their heart. The negotiations aboard the Orion Nebula station stretched into weeks. Tensions ebbed and flowed like the cosmic currents outside the station's reinforced glass walls. Captain Mara Jensen remained a steadfast presence, her calm resolve anchoring the fragile discussions. The coalition was no longer just a force of war, it was becoming a force for peace. It's a symbol of unity in a galaxy long fractured by fear and domination. Admiral Velik, once the fiercest opponent of humanity, now sat at the negotiation table with a measured expression. His journey had been one of grudging respect and painful reflection. The war had shattered his pride, but it had also forced him to reconsider his people's path. There is much to rebuild, Velik admitted during one session. Trust is not won overnight, but this is a start. The Mylari and Vtrax delegates nodded in agreement. The talks focused on establishing protocols for cooperation, mutual defense, and shared exploration. Ancient grievances surfaced, but were met with patient dialogue. Captain Jensen spoke with quiet determination. "We are not here to erase history, but to learn from it. Humanity has endured war, hardship, and betrayal. We understand the cost. Let us build a future where no species must suffer alone." Outside, the stars shone bright, a universe ready for change as agreements took shape. The Resolute prepared for its next mission. This time, it would not be a battle cruise, but a journey of diplomacy and discovery, carrying ambassadors and scientists to worlds that had once been closed off by fear. Lieutenant Ree reflected on the transformation. From a lone warship to a beacon of hope. It's remarkable. Engineer Sora Patel smiled. It's more than that. It's humanity's spirit, resilient, creative, and unyielding. Across the galaxy, word spread of the coalition's success. Former enemies began to open their borders, trade routes flourished, and cultural exchanges blossomed. The galaxy was awakening to a new era, yet vigilance remained. Some factions resisted change, and old wounds festered beneath the surface. Captain Jensen knew the path forward would demand patience and courage. On the Resolute's bridge, Jensen looked out at the vast expanse. "We've shown the galaxy our strength," she said softly. "Oh, we must show them our heart." Her crew nodded, united in purpose. The warship that once shattered an empire now carried the hopes of many species, an enduring symbol that even in the darkest times, light could emerge. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was alive with possibility, and humanity was at its heart.